Good morning from Phoenix, Arizona. It is 6 April, and I am going to make the introductory YouTube video talking about the COVID-19. And really, it's a culmination of a couple things I've been doing over the last week as I become more and more interested in this topic. So after watching this from afar, taking a look at the television, so Fox and CNN and MSNBC, it became clear to me that there really wasn't enough information to tell if anything was getting better, if things getting better or worse. And I'm not saying it's anybody's fault, but a lot of times the information was either sensational or not pertinent. And we all know that sometimes the data is interesting, but if you can't turn it into information, it's really pretty useless. So for the last week, maybe even 10 days, I've been doing some just video clips and sending it to family and friends. It's a little bit cumbersome, so I thought I'd go ahead and try to do it in a different forum. And this will be the first attempt. So really today, the topic of conversation is going to be, why am I doing it, which I think I've explained, and then pretty much where am I getting the data from, and that'll form the basis for any conversations or any other videos that I'm going to show. So when I started looking for this data, what I did is I kind of came and started looking at the New York City Health website, and what they do is that they actually, have started putting out kind of a summarization of cases, hospitalizations, and death. They have some daily counts and they have some charts, but they're not really as beneficial or useful to figure out what's going on. So, and also what they do is that every day, typically twice a day, they actually publish the data. So what they'll do is that there's mortality or death summarization, there's a hospitalization, and then a total cases. So what I started doing, like I said, between about 7 to 10 days ago, I was going ahead and starting to take a look at this. So total cases, this is what it looks like. It gives you the date, and then tells you the cases. It gives you a breakdown. So this is the number of positive COVID cases. They break down by age group, sexual orientation or sex, and then where it came from, and then the total number of deaths. And you can see that, so that's the, here's the deaths. This is what it looks like. This gives you a little bit more information regarding underlying conditions. Again, the same breakdown. And the last one that they try to give you is this thing about hospitalizations. So there you go. So it says ever hospitalized cases, which is a little bit interesting. But so again, same age group breakdown, sex, where it's from, and the totals. So those have actually formed the basis for the information that I started to track. So every day, somewhere in the early evening, these numbers would be coming in, and I went ahead and started taking a look at them, trying to get some trends to see if we make some heads or tails, and whether this is actually getting better or worse. So the next thing we did after getting those daily numbers was to put them in so we can get some sort of a trend. And so what we ended up doing is that the ones that were particularly interesting to me were in orange. I started plotting the daily hospitalization, and then in blue was the daily mortality. Also of note, as a part of reference, is that this is a 4-day running average. And then this blue line was a predictive model that I made about 4 or 5 days ago that we'll later talk about. The other thing that we're kind of keeping track of over here is these are some of the overall long-term averages. So these are for the last 14 days. That's the 14-day daily average of hospitalizations, and that's the 14-day average of deaths or mortality in the New York City area. The other thing that we're tracking is actually the cumulative mortality, as well as the individual mortality, and the particular predictive model that I put together about 3 or 4 days ago. That'll also be a topic that will be going on. Also, one of the reasons why I only did the 5 boroughs here in New York City is that it seems to be predictive of the rest of the country. And you take a look at what's going on here in New York City, is that, I mean, what you can't believe, there's like 8.5 million people in this area. So when you take a look at what are we talking about when we talk about the New York City area, is that graphically, this is kind of what it looks like. You've got Staten Island, Manhattan, Bronx, Brooklyn, and Queens. Those are the areas, and those are known as the 5 boroughs of Manhattan. And if you start taking a look at the numbers, look here, you've got the most populous. The most populous is Brooklyn, right here, about 2.5 million people, 2.6, followed by Queens with 2.3, so a total of almost 8.4, and this was a few years ago, so we're probably talking about 8.5, 8.6 million people, and that's what we're talking about of the actual group that we're working.